Hey there you guys, this is Kyle Hernandez from kylesdev.com. In the last video, which was divided into two parts, we took a look at what JavaScript is. In part 1, we talked about what JavaScript is and what JavaScript could be used for. Then we took a look at HTML, CSS, and JavaScript one by one. After we looked at what HTML, CSS, and JavaScript was one by one, we took a look at an example using Facebook. In the second part, we took a look at the different JavaScript frameworks that JavaScript has. From there, we took a look at what ECMAScript or ESScript is. Then we took a look at the tools that will be needed to make our JavaScript applications. This video is the third of a series that will show you guys how to create JavaScript applications yourself. In this video, I'll be showing you guys where to find the starter code inside of Github. Then we'll be installing some Visual Studio Code tools that we'll be needing to code our JavaScript apps. And then we'll be writing some JavaScript code inside of Visual Studio Code. I hope you enjoy this tutorial. To get started, what we can do is go to github.com, where you guys can find my code and you guys can code along with me. If you guys have not signed up with GitHub, feel free to do that before proceeding on. Once you guys have signed up for GitHub, feel free to continue on with me. If not, feel free to pause the video and take some time to do that. And what we're going to do right now is go to the search bar, right to this GitHub icon right here, and search up my username, KylesDev2024. And you will notice that there is most of these are zeros except this users. You can click on that by the 1. And you will see that my username is right here below the 1 user. Tells me that I joined 14 days ago. Click on that. We can also click below where it says popular repositories and the overview book button, book logo. You can click on the popular repository right here, and you guys will be redirected to some index.html code right here that you guys can download. You can click on code and download zip, the green code drop down arrow and download zip. What you guys can also go to is, instead of master, you guys can go to drop down right here to the left, and you can select section 3. This is actually the one that I want you guys to download because it has all the files that we'll be needing to make the JavaScript applications. What we can do is do the same thing, code, drop down arrow, and then download zip. I already have these installed or downloaded in this case. So what we can do is, once you guys are done downloading these files inside of your Finder or Windows Explorer, you guys can go to Visual Studio Code, open it up. If you guys have not installed Visual Studio Code or any of the tools that was needed to be installed in the last video, feel free to watch it before proceeding on. So what we can do is, once you have Visual Studio Code open, actually before you open up Visual Studio Code folder or the project that I'm in right now, you guys can open this by doing File, Open inside of Visual Studio Code, or once you're in the welcome screen, you can select Open Folder by New File on the welcome screen. So feel free to do that. You can select on any where you guys saved it. I saved it in desktop, and my project name is right here, KylesDev JBE1, which stands for KylesDev JavaScript Basic Essentials 1. So you guys will open this up and you'll see some code down here inside of this index.html file. We will then install some JavaScript tools instead of Visual Studio Code tools instead of Visual Studio Code. What we can do is minimize the screen so you guys can see where to go. You can click on this cube extensions logo and button. You can hover it and click on it, and you'll see that I have some installed. The ones that I want you guys to install for Visual Studio Code starts with Live Server. Live Server is one of the JavaScript tools that will, whenever you guys run your code, you guys will see a port. If you guys understand what I mean from last video, from server side and client side code, this is a port, which is a client side where people can code and run it in the browser. This is the port 3500, but we'll be using 5500 to run this. And I'm coding this on the Mac, so it might be different for you guys. It might be 3500 like you saw there. So what we're going to do is click the Go Live button. Oh, let me make this. You can click on the Go Live button right here. And it should be right here. Notice it says the port 5500 because this is the port 5500. /index.html is the file right after the 5500 /. This is the file that's being executed to the browser. What you guys can do is find a console and let me refresh it. It looks like I got an error. It's good now. You don't have to go to the console like what I did. I just had to fix an error. What you guys can do is take a look at what this looks like right now, showing on the screen, and also the code that's executing, what's causing this code to show up, or this coloring and text to show up, is basically this index.html file. This is because the title shows up right by the browser, the style body of the h1, h2 tags, these are showing the text up, and these coloring functionalities to show up in color, to show up the orange tag on the left and orange tag on the right. So what we're going to do now is, once we've done that, what we can do is go to script.js and start writing some JavaScript code in. Just like how we created the Hello Kyle inside of the console in the first video of the JavaScript tutorial, we're going to do the same thing here. We can alert, just like how we did in the first video. Remember, parentheses come after the function or anything inside of it, like if-else statements, variables, or even these alert functions. We can type a message again. We can say, "Hello, Kyle," on my YouTube channel. And what we can see now is that JavaScript creates an alert, and this port is alerting me this message that we just typed inside the Visual Studio Code. Now what we can do is create variables and use if-else statements like we did last time. What we can do is type let. We can do the same thing. Actually, we're going to change it up a little bit. We're going to do let my mood rating. Instead of doing a string that we did last time, we're going to use a number. I'm going to say a 10 for happy. And then we're going to do if my mood rating is 10, and just type excellent, 10 out of 10, smiley face. Then we'll do else console.log. It's alright. And then we'll just do a smiley face just in case. Now, when we did this, there's also different ways. You can also add an else if statement. Let's say if it's a 2, if it's a 3 or 4 or 5 or more, like greater than 10, using a greater than sign, less than 10. We'll understand that when we do if-else statements, advanced if-else statements. But for now, we're just playing with the JavaScript code for the JavaScript console. So what we can do is save and run it. You'll see the alert. Go to the console by right-clicking and inspect. And then you'll notice that we got excellent 10 out of 10 with the smiley face from script.js line 5. That's good. Now if we wanted to change this to a different number, let's say we wanted 5, what do you think the output will be in this case? Yeah, you're right. It's alright because it's not 10. It's actually 5. We got this from script.js line number 7. Alright. Now what we want to do now is do some math operations like we did in the first video. Printing to the console, what we can do is do console.log and also, I forgot to say this earlier, console.log prints the stuff that you put inside of the console.log into the console. So, you know how we did just typed inside the console, no need for console.log? Here, since we're in Visual Studio Code, we have to type console.log. But if we were outside of console.log, or inside of console.log, or inside the console, we don't need to do that. So, just like how we did math operations without typing console.log, we're going to do it this time with console.log. And just like how we did if-else statements without the console.log, and variables without console.log, we'll be creating inside of Visual Studio Code here. So what we can do is do some math calculations. Let's say we want to do 12, 24, I'm going to add these up, and 55. You can go back to the console, click OK there. And if you guys are getting different outputs or getting errors, feel free to rewind the video. And the total, we get 91, line 10 from script.js. What we can do now is, pardon me, sorry. What we can do is do a different one. We do 88 minus 24 minus 45. And we get 19. Printed, we can do multiplication and division as well. What we can do is do console.log, just do 7 times 7 divided by 2, and we'll probably get 24.5. And that's the intro to JavaScript code, just like how I did in the console, how I did in the first video. I hope this video was helpful. In the next video, which we'll be covering in a few seconds, we're going to be talking about some strings and numbers, and get used to if-else statements that you saw here, but we'll be using more. And I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Be sure to smash the like button and subscribe to my YouTube channel. And I hope to see you guys there.